CBS presents this program in color.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
These famous words by U.S. President John F. Kennedy to put a man on the moon and the subsequent moon landing by the U.S. came at the height of the space race. But how did we get there?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to a CBS special documentary on the space race. I'm Colby Bent, joined by my co-host Jeremy Jones. As I'm sure many of you who are watching today still remember the stress, anxiety, as the rocket Saturn V took flight on July 16, 1969. Many of you have been wondering what led to that mission, and today, 3 years since that fateful day, your questions will be answered. Now, what really was this race to space? Some of the first attention in space was shown when the United States captured more than 1,600 German scientists, engineers, and technicians in Operation Paperclip. This program was after the end of World War II and lasted from 1949 until 1959 and showed the interest in rocket engineering and space travel. Within the following years, the idea of space travel gained traction, and on July 30th, 1955, the United States government announced their intent to launch a satellite into orbit. The Soviet Union responded 4 years later with the announcement that they too would launch a satellite into space. Due to the Cold War, the United States and the Soviet Union had never felt more pressure to compete with and become better than the other. Tensions soon reached a high as the Soviets launched Sputnik 1 into space, the first artificial satellite. On October 4th, 1957, this event, often referred to as the Sputnik crisis, and more importantly, the start of the space race. We'll be right back after the quick break.
Today, the United States is engaged in a gigantic effort to send men to the moon. For this effort, Pillsbury has developed many special foods. Now, one of these space foods is available in grocery stores. Space Food Sticks. They give lasting energy and good nutrition. At about 44 calories a stick, they're the perfect between-meal energy snack. Space Food Sticks, the energy snack from U.S. Aerospace Research and Pillsbury.
Welcome back to the CBS special news program on the space race. When we left off, the unexpected success of Sputnik 1 shocked the U.S. and marked the beginning of a high-stakes technological rivalry. Just a month later, the Soviets launched Sputnik 2, carrying Laika, the first living creature, into space, pressuring the United States to accelerate its space program. In response, the U.S. established NASA in 1958. American efforts gained momentum with the Mercury and Gemini programs, with focus on manned spaceflight and orbital maneuvering. However, the Soviets continued to lead with first, including sending the first human, Yuri Gagarin, into space aboard the craft Vostok 1. The successful orbit of Earth made him a global hero and a symbol of Soviet space domination. Meanwhile, Alan Shepard became the first American in space shortly afterwards.
The primary goal of the space race was to land a man on the moon. However, both the United States and the Soviet Union also launched various missions, including rovers, satellites, and manned spacecraft. They paid attention to other planets as well, with the Soviet Venera program and the United States Mariner program conducting flybys of Venus and later Mars. Luna 10 was launched and became the first man-made object to orbit the moon. In 1969, NASA's Surveyor 1 was launched, marking the first successful soft landing by the United States on the moon.
While there had been a lot of success, there were also failures, such as the Apollo 1 mission and the Soviet Soyuz 1 mission. With such disasters in the past, tensions were at an all-time high when the Saturn V rocket took off from the Kennedy Space Center on July 16, 1969, carrying Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins to the moon. Shortly after entering Earth's orbit, they were propelled into the moon's orbit. Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong entered the lunar module, Eagle, were propelled towards the surface of the moon. They successfully landed on the moon at the Sea of Tranquility and began preparing further research. Neil Armstrong then began their walk on the moon, collecting rock samples and saying the famous line, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind, while planting the American flag. They returned to Earth, splashing down in the Pacific Ocean on July 24th, after 8 long days in space. Ultimately, the space race cooled into cooperation, culminating in the Apollo-Soyuz test project in 1975, where American and Soviet spacecraft docked in orbit. This event showed a calming of tensions in the Cold War and was the first successful space docking between nations. With the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, the space race and the Cold War were over, establishing the U.S. as a preeminent space and military power in the world.
More recently, the United States continued its research in space, with other nations like China increasing their own focus on space for weapons, satellites, and general research. The United States kept the NASA program, and more recently with the creation of SpaceX and their Starlink satellites, along with Blue Origin offering civilian rides to a select few, have shaped the idea of space. The public perception of space travel has changed a lot over the years, with many originally fearing the idea of space and the unknown. But now it is a common occurrence to hear of another rocket launching and another satellite sent into space. All the space missions occurring across the globe show the rapid development and advancement to all of human technology and life. Thank you to all of our viewers for watching the CBS special documentary on the space race.